The unexpected threat. The stars had always been a mystery to Earth's people. For centuries, humans had gazed up at the night sky, wondering if they were alone in the universe. Little did they know, the answer to that question was about to change forever. It started with a faint signal, a strange pattern coming from deep in the galaxy. Scientists around the world were baffled, unable to decipher its meaning. At first, they thought it was just some kind of space anomaly. But as the days went by, the signal became clearer, more precise. It wasn't just a random burst, it was a message, and it was directed at Earth. The world's governments, military leaders, and top scientists scrambled to make sense of what was happening. The message, though cryptic, contained a warning. Your world is next. It was signed by an alien race known as the Exarathians, a species that had conquered countless planets and civilizations across the galaxy. They had never failed in their conquests, and Earth, with its unprotected defenses and primitive technology, was an easy target. General Emma Carter stood in a dimly lit room at Earth's newly formed Global Defense Headquarters. She was staring at the holographic projection of the alien fleet, its massive ships approaching Earth's atmosphere. The Exarathians had made their move. Their fleet was enormous, far bigger than anything Earth had ever seen. Earth's military had nothing even close to matching the technology the Exarathians wielded. "We don't stand a chance," one of the officers muttered, glancing nervously at the projection. General Carter ignored the officer's words, her mind racing. They had expected to face some kind of enemy eventually, but nothing like this. The Exarathians were ruthless conquerors. They had destroyed entire civilizations without a second thought, leaving nothing behind but ruins. Yet there was something that Earth's military hadn't counted on, a force that the Exarathians could not understand or even begin to measure: human culture. As the Exarathian ships entered Earth's orbit, their leader, Jareth, broadcast a message to the planet. His voice was cold, powerful, and carried an unmistakable sense of superiority. "People of Earth," Jareth's voice boomed across every communication channel, "you are about to become part of the Exarathian Empire. Your technology is weak, your defense is laughable, and your leaders are too afraid to fight. Your world is ours to claim. Surrender now, and we may spare your species." The message sent a wave of fear across the globe, but it also ignited something else, a fire in the hearts of every human. For all their technology and strength, the Exarathians had failed to understand the one thing that made Earth different: humanity's will to fight, to resist, and to stand together against impossible odds. General Carter watched as the message ended, a sense of determination settling in her chest. "We may not have their weapons, but we have something they don't. We have culture. We have the power of unity. And we will show them that they have underestimated us." Back on the streets of Earth's cities, people watched in fear and confusion as the Exarathian ships hovered above. But as the days passed, the initial panic started to turn into something else, something stronger. People began to gather in groups, sharing their thoughts, their hopes, and their strength with one another. Artists, musicians, and leaders started to rally others with powerful speeches, songs, and expressions of the things that made them human. In small communities, people played instruments, sang songs of defiance, and painted murals depicting their history and their will to survive. The human spirit was something that no alien race had ever encountered, and its power was beginning to show. People weren't just waiting to be conquered. They were preparing to fight, using every tool at their disposal, everything that made them human. General Carter knew that this was the key. The Exarathians might have the most advanced weapons in the galaxy, but they could never understand the power of human culture. The music, the art, the stories, and the unwavering spirit of Earth's people were things that Exarathians would never be able to predict or counter. "We will fight with everything we have," General Carter said, addressing a room full of military leaders and scientists. "We may not have their ships, their weapons, or their technology, but we have something far stronger: our culture, our unity, and our resolve. The Exarathians may think they can conquer us, but they don't know who they're dealing with. Across the world, the message was clear. Humans were not just going to surrender. They were going to fight back, using the very things that made them who they were. Earth's military forces quickly adapted, using unconventional tactics inspired by humanity's greatest cultural triumphs. The first battle wouldn't be fought with advanced technology, but with the strength of the human spirit. As the Exarathian fleet prepared to land on Earth, they encountered something they had never expected. People ready to face them, not with fear, but with pride and unity. The Exarathians looked down at the planet, confused and frustrated. They had expected to find a weak, defenseless world ready to be claimed. Instead, they found a people who would not be easily defeated. And so, the battle for Earth began, not just a battle of weapons and technology, but a battle of culture, identity, and the unbreakable will of humanity. The Exarathians had underestimated humanity, and now they would learn the true power of Earth's secret weapon, the human spirit. The first clash. The Exarathian fleet loomed above Earth, its warships casting long, ominous shadows across the planet. General Emma Carter stood at the helm of Earth's defense operations, watching as the alien ships descended toward Earth's surface. The battle was about to begin. The Exarathians had shown no mercy with their initial message, their arrogance making it clear that they considered humanity's defenses laughable. They believed they would crush Earth without a second thought. But Carter knew something the aliens didn't. Humans had faced countless challenges throughout history and had always risen to the occasion. This time, the fight wasn't going to be about technology or firepower. It was going to be about something far more powerful, the unbreakable will of the human spirit, forged in the fires of culture, history, and unity. In the days leading up to the first clash, Earth's military forces had been scrambling to come up with strategies that could level the playing field. They were outgunned, outclassed, and outmatched in every way imaginable. But they had one thing that the Exarathians couldn't possibly anticipate: the power of human ingenuity. As the first wave of Exarathian ships began to fire their deadly energy weapons at Earth's cities, Carter gave the order to engage. Earth's military had only rudimentary technology compared to the alien invaders, but they were fighters, trained to make the most out of what they had. Fighter jets and anti-aircraft missiles filled the skies, firing relentlessly at the incoming alien ships. The battle was chaotic, and for the first time, it seemed like humanity was being pushed back with every blast. The alien forces were methodical, their ships moving in perfect coordination, launching devastating strikes at every major city. But as the conflict raged on, Carter saw something unexpected. Though Earth's forces were being overpowered, there was no sign of panic. People didn't flee. They fought back with every ounce of strength they had. From the ground, people watched as their cities burned, but they didn't cower. In the midst of destruction, they came together, finding strength in their shared humanity. Artists painted symbols of hope on the walls. Music played in the streets, and soldiers fought with an unmatched ferocity. It was as if Earth itself had awakened, and its heartbeat was now strong enough to shake the very heavens. Inside the command center, the sound of alarms echoed as Earth's military ground forces clashed with the alien invaders. General Carter was on the front lines of this defense. Her tactical skills, honed over years of training, were now put to the ultimate test. She had to think quickly. Fighting on the ground was not enough. They needed a way to cripple the Exarathian fleet, or they would be wiped out entirely. Deploy the EMP satellites, Carter ordered firmly. Earth's technology was far less advanced than the aliens, but one thing they could do was disrupt their systems. Earth's top scientists had been working on a plan to send an electromagnetic pulse into the enemy fleet's systems, crippling their ships' advanced weapons. It was risky. If the pulse didn't work, it could make Earth vulnerable to even more devastating retaliation. The countdown began. Earth's EMP satellites aligned in orbit, and sent out their pulse. For a brief moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly, the skies lit up with a brilliant flash as the alien ships began to flicker and stutter. The pulse had worked. The Exarathian warships lost power, and many of them plummeted out of orbit. Some ships went down in flames, while others were left floating, vulnerable to Earth's counterattack. The Exarathians were shaken by the loss. Their fleet, once so sure of their victory, was now crippled. It was the first sign that perhaps Earth's defense wasn't as hopeless as they had believed. But the Exarathians were not ones to back down easily. Jaroth, the leader of the Exarathian invasion, watched as the first wave of his fleet was destroyed. His eyes burned with fury. "No more mistakes," he snarled. "Launch the second wave. We will not be defeated by these primitive creatures." As the second wave of Exarathian ships began their descent, Earth's military forces scrambled to regroup. They had gained a small victory, but it was only temporary. The alien forces had recovered quickly and were now coming in full force. There was no time to waste. Carter knew that Earth's best chance of survival wasn't in conventional warfare. It was in exploiting the one thing that made them stronger than the aliens: their unity, their culture. Carter looked at the screens in front of her. In the midst of chaos, humanity had found a way to fight. Military commanders on the ground coordinated with civilians, using the power of human culture to rally the troops. Messages of hope and defiance, stories of past victories, and songs of resistance were being broadcast across the world. People in every corner of the planet were joining forces, giving everything they had to defend Earth. General Carter watched as the ground forces pushed back against the aliens. The Exarathians may have had the firepower, but humanity had the heart. Every soldier, every civilian, every person was fighting not just for survival, but for the culture they held dear, something the aliens could never understand. The music, the art, the pride in their history, it was all coming together as Earth's most unexpected weapon. "Stay strong," Carter murmured to herself. "This fight isn't over. It's only just begun." The battle for Earth had only begun, but it was clear that humanity would not fall easily. They had no choice but to win for their families, their culture, and the future of their world. The Exarathians might have underestimated them, but that was about to change. The first clash was only the beginning of a fight that would determine the fate of humanity, and Earth's most terrifying weapon, its culture, was just starting to make itself known. The cultural counterattack. The skies above Earth were still filled with the wreckage of Exarathian ships, their once imposing fleet now scattered in ruins. But even in victory, General Emma Carter knew that the battle was far from over. The Exarathians were not like any enemy Earth had ever faced. They would regroup, adapt, and return with even more deadly force. Yet there was a new kind of strength rising from the ashes of the initial conflict. It wasn't just the Earth's military that had stood firm. It was the people of the planet themselves. The resistance had taken on a new shape, one that Earth's alien invaders could not fathom. The power of human culture had begun to spread like wildfire. It began with small pockets of civilians scattered across the globe, finding ways to fight back in their own ways. Musicians took to the streets, playing stirring anthems of defiance that rallied people together. Artists painted murals on the sides of ruined buildings, depicting the proud history of Earth and the struggle that was unfolding. The symbols of Earth's greatest triumphs, freedom, unity, and hope, were everywhere. The Exarathians had underestimated the power of Earth's spirit, and now they would pay the price. General Carter watched as the human forces began to adapt to a new kind of warfare. It wasn't about technology. It wasn't even about the weapons. The Exarathians had come to conquer, expecting to find a world of weak and fearful people who would bow to their superior might. What they found instead was something they could not comprehend: a planet filled with people who believed in something greater than themselves. It was at this turning point that a new tactic emerged. Instead of trying to match the aliens' firepower with Earth's limited technology, Carter called for a different kind of battle, one rooted in the very heart of human culture. On the streets of New York, a group of resistance fighters led by Sergeant Jonah Reyes had set up loudspeakers all over the city, broadcasting not just messages of hope, but also deeply emotional pieces of Earth's finest art. The sound of Beethoven's Ode to Joy echoed through the urban landscape, calling to people from all walks of life. As the music spread through the airwaves, people found themselves filled with an overwhelming sense of unity. It was as if their collective humanity was being forged into a single weapon, one that could challenge the Exarathian invaders. In other cities, powerful speeches from Earth's most revered leaders, both past and present, were broadcast across the world. The words of Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, and Winston Churchill echoed through the air, giving the people the courage they needed to stand tall. These weren't just words. They were the backbone of human strength, the unshakable resolve that had carried people through their darkest hours. As the aliens watched the broadcasts on their own communication screens, they were confused. The human race had no advanced weapons to show, no overwhelming technological edge to use. And yet, something about the way the people of Earth fought back with their culture, their unity, and their history was making the Exarathians uneasy. Sheriff, the commander of the Exarathian invasion, couldn't understand it. His forces had battled civilizations across the galaxy, reducing entire planets to ashes. And yet, this small blue planet had something different, something that rattled his confidence. Why do they resist? Jeroth growled, slamming his fist against his console. They have no weapons. They have no power. His advisors could offer no answers. The Exarathians had underestimated the strength of Earth's cultural identity, and now that mistake was costing them. Earth was fighting back not with guns and bombs, but with the very things that had shaped their history, their art, their music, and their stories. Meanwhile, on the front lines of the battlefield, Earth's soldiers fought with a ferocity the Exarathians hadn't anticipated. The sight of Earth's civilians creating art, sharing stories, and singing songs had become a rallying cry for the military. The soldiers carried the hope of their entire world with them, and that made them far more dangerous than the aliens had imagined. Private Jessica Miller, a young soldier from the Midwest, had been just a civilian only a few weeks ago. Now she was part of an elite strike team, trained not only to fight, but to carry the message of Earth's cultural resistance into every battle. She didn't carry advanced weapons. She carried a flag, a symbol of everything Earth had stood for. As her unit advanced on an alien outpost, they encountered unexpected resistance. The Exarathian forces, though technologically superior, were now facing something they couldn't fight: the will of an entire planet united. Miller's team used the tactics they had learned from their cultural history, moves inspired by ancient warriors and past revolutionaries. They disrupted the alien ranks, using guerrilla tactics and striking where the Exarathians least expected. The Exarathians fought back with their advanced weaponry, but for the first time, they seemed slow. They were trying to anticipate a traditional battle, but humans were unpredictable. The very unpredictability of humanity, its cultural diversity and creativity, had become a weapon in itself. On the battlefield, as Earth's forces made their move, a strange phenomenon occurred. The Exarathian soldiers, once so confident in their superiority, hesitated. Some dropped their weapons. Others simply stopped fighting. It wasn't fear. It was something more profound. They couldn't understand why humans would fight so fiercely with nothing more than their culture and spirit. It was as if they couldn't comprehend the strength that came from a people who valued their past, their traditions, and their shared identity. Back in the command center, General Carter watched as reports flooded in. The Exarathians were beginning to lose their grip. They were still powerful, still dangerous, but they had underestimated one crucial thing: the power of a people united by their culture. "It's working," Carter said, her voice low but filled with determination. "Our culture is our weapon, and we will use it until the very end." The fight for Earth had taken an unexpected turn. What the Exarathians had thought was a weakness was now their greatest fear. Earth was no longer a defenseless world. It was a planet filled with the strength of its people's culture. And with every passing moment, the Exarathians were realizing that they had made a grave mistake. The turning tide. The Exarathian fleet had once seemed unstoppable. Their warships, armed with energy weapons capable of disintegrating entire cities, had proven devastating in the early battles. Earth's defenses were scattered, and their technology was no match for the invaders. Yet what the Exarathians hadn't counted on was the unyielding spirit of humanity, driven by the power of their culture. As the war raged on, the momentum of the battle shifted. What had started as a desperate fight for survival had now become a full-scale counteroffensive. Earth's forces, though outmatched in firepower, had discovered that their strength lay not in advanced technology, but in their shared history, their art, their creativity, and their unbreakable will. And as the Exarathian invaders continued to underestimate humanity, they found themselves facing an opponent they could never have predicted. General Emma Carter stood at the command center, staring at the map of Earth's strategic defenses. The tide had begun to turn. With each passing day, the resistance grew stronger. The alien fleet was still a formidable force, but their advantage was slipping away. The Exarathians had never expected Earth to fight back like this. They had expected fear, panic, and surrender. Instead, they had found a world united in its refusal to submit. The key to this unexpected resistance was the combination of human ingenuity and their cultural power. Art, music, history, and stories. These were things the aliens couldn't quantify, things they couldn't control. And as humanity's forces continued to fight, the aliens were slowly realizing that they were up against something far stronger than weapons. They were facing an entire planet's worth of pride, unity, and resistance. On the front lines, Earth's military continued to fight with everything they had. Their weapons were still primitive compared to the Exarathian tech, but they had learned how to exploit every advantage. One of the most effective tactics had come from the very people the aliens had dismissed, the civilians. As Earth's soldiers fought, they used the power of symbolism to rally those around them. Every flag, every mural, every song broadcast over the airwaves became a symbol of hope. Private Jessica Miller, now a seasoned veteran of the resistance, stood beside her comrades as they prepared to launch another attack. She carried with her the banner of Earth, a simple but powerful symbol of the unity that had fueled their survival. It wasn't just a flag. It was a message to the Exarathians. Earth was not weak. Earth was not broken. Earth was strong, and no alien invasion could ever take away their identity. "Ready to go?" Sergeant Rise asked, clapping Miller on the back. She nodded. "We don't back down. Not today. Not ever." The assault began as Earth's ground forces stormed the enemy outpost. This time, they had learned from their mistakes. Instead of focusing on brute force, they used every ounce of their creativity to disrupt the alien defenses. They deployed distractions, noises, lights, and signals, all designed to confuse and disorient the Exarathians. It was an unexpected move, one the aliens had never seen before. It worked. The Exarathians, accustomed to facing straightforward battles, were thrown off balance. As their forces scrambled to adapt, the humans launched a series of coordinated attacks from multiple directions. They didn't just fight with weapons. They fought with their culture, their will, and their refusal to accept defeat. The Exarathians tried to retaliate, but their advanced weaponry was no match for the unpredictability of human tactics. Earth's soldiers moved like a swarm, unpredictable and relentless. The battle had become less about technology and more about tenacity. It wasn't just the soldiers who fought. It was the very spirit of humanity that refused to give in. Back at Earth's command center, General Carter watched the reports coming in. The Exarathian forces were beginning to break. Their ships had suffered significant damage from the EMP pulse and guerrilla tactics. Now they were losing ground on Earth's surface as well. Their forces were scattered, their lines fractured, and they were slowly being pushed back. The once overwhelming alien presence was now being met with fierce resistance at every turn. Carter knew that they couldn't stop here. They had to keep the pressure on, or the Exarathians would regroup and return with even more strength. She glanced over at the tactical team. Each member focused on the battlefield in front of them. "We need to keep hitting them where it hurts," Carter said firmly. "They won't understand this fight unless we show them what it really means to take Earth. They'll learn that we won't just fight with guns. We'll fight with everything we are." The plan was set. Earth's military would strike at key points in the alien defenses, targeting their command structures and weakening their grip on the planet. But this time, they would do it differently. The strikes would be timed with broadcasts of Earth's most powerful cultural moments. Speeches, music, and artwork that embodied humanity's strength would accompany the attacks, further shaking the Exarathians' confidence. As the battle reached its climax, a final confrontation between the alien invaders and humanity seemed inevitable. The Exarathians, frustrated and disoriented, were now fighting for their survival, no longer the confident conquerors they had been when they first arrived. Jerath, the Exarathian commander, was beginning to see the true power of Earth. It wasn't their technology. It wasn't their weapons. It was the people themselves. Earth had turned the tide of war by showing the invaders something they had never considered: the true strength of a planet united by its culture, its history, and its resolve. In the final moments of the battle, as the remaining Exarathian forces retreated, the Exarathian leader Jerath realized the full extent of his error. He had thought Earth was a weak, defenseless world, ripe for the taking. But in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity had fought not just to survive, but to preserve everything that made them who they were. Earth's strength was not in its weapons or technology. It was in the hearts and minds of its people. And that was something no alien force could ever destroy. As Earth's victory became clear, the world breathed a collective sigh of relief. But the victory wasn't just over an alien force. It was a victory for humanity itself, for the culture, the identity, and the unbreakable spirit that had carried them through their darkest hour. The unexpected visitor. With the Exarathian invaders retreating, Earth found itself on the brink of an unexpected peace. The world had been forever changed by the brutal assault and the heroic resistance that followed. Yet, as Earth celebrated its victory, General Emma Carter and the rest of humanity's leaders knew that they couldn't let their guard down. The universe was vast, and Earth was no longer isolated from the dangers lurking beyond the stars. As the people of Earth began to rebuild, new threats loomed on the horizon. Though the Exarathians had been defeated, rumors of other alien races observing Earth's unexpected resilience began to spread. The question on everyone's mind was simple: had Earth's victory inspired other enemies, or would it spark the interest of new allies? One evening, General Carter stood on the balcony of her headquarters, gazing out over a city recovering from the chaos. The destruction was still visible in the form of ruined buildings and damaged infrastructure, but Earth had proven its ability to endure. She couldn't help but wonder what lay ahead for humanity. The battle had been won, but the war for survival was far from over. Just as Carter turned to leave the balcony, her communicator buzzed. It was a secure, encrypted message. "General Carter," the voice on the other end said, sounding urgent. "You need to come to the command center immediately. There's something you need to see." Carter's heart skipped a beat. The peace they had fought for felt fragile, and every report she received made her wonder whether Earth was truly safe. She quickly made her way to the command center, where the atmosphere was tense. The faces of her officers were grave as they stood around the large holo table, analyzing data. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice calm, though a sense of unease crept over her. "We've just received a transmission," the officer in charge explained, his voice low. "It's coming from a vessel in orbit around Earth. It's not Exarathian, nor is it any species we've encountered before." Carter's stomach tightened. An unknown alien ship. Was this the beginning of a new invasion, or something entirely different? The image on the holo-table flickered, and a strange angular ship appeared on the screen. It was sleek, much smaller than the Exarathian warships, with sharp lines and an eerie glow that pulsed along its surface. The vessel wasn't transmitting any standard identification codes, but it was clear that it was hovering just outside Earth's atmosphere, close enough to be a threat, yet not approaching aggressively. "Any idea what it wants?" Carter asked. "Not yet," the officer replied. "We've attempted to hail them, but they haven't responded. It's like they're waiting for something." Carter took a deep breath. The Exarathians had left, but now another unknown force had entered Earth's skies. She knew that Earth had made an impression on the galaxy, but this could mean anything. She turned to her team. "Prepare a team for contact," she ordered, her voice steady despite the growing tension. "We won't sit here and wait. Get us answers. If this ship is a threat, we need to be ready." As her team scrambled to prepare, Carter sat back in her chair. The victory over the Exarathians had been hard-earned, and now it felt like the battle was only beginning. She couldn't help but wonder if the universe was sending a message. Had humanity's victory over the aliens attracted the attention of others? Minutes later, a new transmission came through, this one more direct. A voice, calm and measured, spoke from the strange vessel's communication system. "This is Captain Kell of the Zorath Coalition. We come in peace, General Carter. We wish to speak with you regarding the recent battle fought over this planet." Carter's eyes narrowed. The Zorath Coalition. She had never heard of them. But if they were speaking to her, it meant something significant. "Peace," Carter echoed, her voice tinged with suspicion. "After all this, you come here claiming peace." "General," the voice continued, "we watched your battle. The resilience of your people has impressed us. You fought with courage and unity, qualities we respect. But we also have information that may be of interest to you." The word struck Carter like a bolt of lightning. Was this new force coming to offer an alliance, or did they have something else in mind? Either way, this was a momentous moment in human history. Earth had never been in this position before. She leaned forward, trying to keep her voice steady. "What kind of information?" "We are aware of a greater threat than the Exarathians, a force that could bring destruction to your world and others in this sector," Captain Kell's voice replied. "We believe you may have the power to stop them, but we need to talk. There is much you do not know about the galaxy and the dangers it holds." Carter's pulse quickened. A greater threat. After everything Earth had already endured, another enemy could be on the way. The possibilities were overwhelming, but one thing was clear. Earth's survival had just become much more complicated. "Who are you, and why should we trust you?" Carter asked, her voice cold with suspicion. "We are the Zorath Coalition," the voice answered. "We are not your enemies, and we believe your world may play a crucial role in the future of this galaxy. We wish to discuss an alliance." Carter's mind raced. Earth had never been in a position to negotiate with alien races, and this unexpected encounter could change everything. She could feel the weight of history pressing down on her. Whatever decision she made now would impact the future of humanity. "We'll meet with you," Carter said, her voice firm. "But understand this, Earth has fought for its survival. We will never be anyone's puppet, and we will not trust anyone lightly." "Understood, General," the voice responded. "We will send coordinates for the meeting. Be ready." As the transmission ended, Carter exhaled slowly. A new chapter was about to begin for Earth, and the future was uncertain. Could the Zorath Coalition be an ally, or was this the beginning of a new and even greater threat? Whatever it was, Earth had already proven that it would not back down. The fight for survival had only just begun. The Coalition's proposition. The Zorath Coalition's message had sent shockwaves through Earth's leadership. While many were wary, the opportunity to gain an ally in the vast, unexplored galaxy was a tempting offer. General Emma Carter, who had led Earth's forces to victory against the Exarathian invaders, found herself facing a new dilemma: how to navigate this encounter with the unknown. In the days following the mysterious transmission, Earth's top military leaders gathered in a secure underground conference room to discuss their next move. The room buzzed with voices, each offering their opinions. The tension was palpable. The Exarathian War had left scars on the planet, and even the smallest hint of a new threat made everyone uneasy. "General Carter, we don't know who these Zorathians are or what they truly want," Admiral Hunter said, his tone sharp. "For all we know, they might be playing a game with us. They say they're not our enemies, but that doesn't mean they're not hiding something." Carter nodded, her face stern. She understood the concern, but she also knew that Earth had already shown its strength in the face of overwhelming odds. If the Zorath coalition came in peace, this could be an unprecedented opportunity. But she had to tread carefully. "We can't afford to make the same mistake we did with the Exarathians," Carter replied. "We'll meet with them, but we'll keep our guard up. They've sent a message, but we'll need to see their actions before we make any decisions. We're not just going to accept anything at face value." Admiral Hunter reluctantly agreed. "Understood, General. But remember, this could be a trap. The galaxy is a dangerous place." Carter didn't disagree. The last few weeks had been a brutal reminder of how quickly things could go from peaceful to catastrophic. But she knew Earth had earned its place in the cosmos with the strength and unity it had shown. It wasn't just about fighting. Earth had shown that it could adapt, learn, and survive. Now it needed to decide if it was ready to take the next step. The Zorathians had promised a meeting, and Carter knew that this encounter would shape humanity's future. The time had come to make the call. A few days later, the meeting was set. A small fleet of Earth's best ships, equipped with the latest in defensive technology, made its way toward the coordinates transmitted by the Zorath coalition. General Carter led the mission personally, her ship leading the charge. Her face was set in determination. As the fleet approached, she felt the weight of the decision pressing on her shoulders. The Zorathian ship was still in orbit, just as it had been when they first detected it. The vessel had a sleek, almost metallic surface, with jagged lines running through it that made it look like something out of a sci-fi movie. But this was real. And it wasn't just a movie. Approaching the Zorathian ship now, Lieutenant Garcia reported from the command station. "We're in range. Their ship is signaling for us to dock." Carter nodded, her eyes never leaving the view screen. This was it. She couldn't afford to show any weakness. Earth's future could be decided in the next few moments. The ship's docking clamps engaged, and the crew braced for whatever was about to come. The Zorathian vessel's interior was like nothing Carter had ever seen before. The walls were smooth, almost translucent, with glowing symbols etched along the edges. There was an alien feel to everything. The lighting, the colors, the air, but it wasn't hostile. The entire ship had an unsettling beauty to it, one that hinted at the vastness of knowledge the Zorathians possessed. As Carter and her team entered the ship, they were escorted by tall figures. These aliens were humanoid but much taller than humans, with elongated limbs and sharp features. Their skin was a pale, almost metallic gray, and their eyes were deep pools of black. There was an eerie silence to their movements, as if they were aware of everything but chose to remain detached from the world around them. "Welcome, General Carter," a voice rang out from the shadows. It was the same voice they had heard over the communication system, the voice of Captain Kale. The alien commander stepped forward, his figure glowing faintly in the dim light. "I am Captain Kale of the Zorath Coalition. We have much to discuss." Carter stood tall, her expression unwavering. "Let's get to it," she replied. "We have been watching you, Earth," Captain Kale continued, his voice smooth and measured. "Your victory over the Exarathians has not gone unnoticed. You have proven yourselves capable of far more than we originally anticipated, and that is why we are here. We already know you're impressed with Earth's resilience," Carter said. "But what exactly do you want from us?" The captain's expression remained unchanged. "We have a common enemy, a far greater threat than the Exarathians, one that has been moving through the galaxy for centuries, consuming worlds, destroying civilizations. They are known as the Azari, and they are coming for your planet. The name sent a chill down Carter's spine. The Azari. She had never heard of them. But if the Zorathians were worried about them, it was a serious matter. The Azari are ruthless, Captain Kale continued. They are a collective of warlords, each one more dangerous than the last. They devour everything in their path, and they do not care for diplomacy. We have fought them for generations, but we need your help. Earth's culture, its will to survive, is a strength we cannot ignore. Together, we could stand a chance. Carter's mind raced. Could humanity truly fight against a force like the Azari? The Exarathians had been bad enough, but if these Azari were worse? We're not a military force, Carter said carefully. We're still rebuilding, and we've just fought one war. What makes you think we can help you fight another? Because, General, Captain Kale replied, we've seen what your people are capable of. You have something the Azari can never understand. An unbreakable spirit, a connection to your past, and an ability to unite against impossible odds. This is why we believe Earth has the power to tip the scales in our favor. Carter glanced at her team. Could they really do this? Could humanity stand against the Azari? She turned back to Captain Kale. We'll need time to decide. This is not a decision we can make lightly. Of course, the Zorathian leader said. Take all the time you need. We'll be waiting for your answer. As Carter and her team returned to their ship, the weight of the decision hung over her. Earth had faced the impossible before and had emerged victorious. But this was different. The stakes were higher, and the enemy was unknown. The future of humanity, and perhaps the galaxy, rested on the choices they made next. The decision. The quiet hum of Earth's fleet was a constant backdrop as General Emma Carter sat in the command chair of her ship. Her mind was heavy with the weight of the decision she faced. The Zorathians had presented Earth with an offer, one that seemed both dangerous and necessary. The Azari, a mysterious and terrifying enemy, were on the move. And Earth, despite its hard-won victory over the Exarathians, was still vulnerable. Could they afford to refuse the Zorath Coalition's request for an alliance? Could they take the risk of fighting alone in a galaxy filled with unknown dangers? General, Lieutenant Garcia's voice broke through her thoughts. The fleet is ready to depart. The Council is waiting for your decision. Carter exhaled slowly. She had spent the last several hours weighing the pros and cons, consulting with her top advisors, and considering every possibility. The Zorathians were not the only potential allies in the galaxy. There were others, no doubt. But the Zorath Coalition had proven their resilience, and their warning about the Azari had been urgent. If the Azari truly were as dangerous as Captain Kale had suggested, refusing their offer could spell disaster for Earth. But there was still so much unknown about the Zorathians. Were they really trustworthy? Or were they using Earth as a pawn in a larger cosmic game? I'll be in the briefing room in 5 minutes, Carter said, rising from her chair. Prepare the Council. As she entered the briefing room, the faces of Earth's leaders were grim. There was no easy choice here. The battle against the Exarathians had been hard enough, but the thought of facing something even worse, an unstoppable force like the Azari, was daunting. Admiral Hunter was the first to speak. General, I know we've been through a lot, but this isn't just about us anymore. It's about the future of Earth. The Zorathians might be our best shot at survival. I don't like it, but I think we need to join forces with them. Carter nodded but didn't respond immediately. She turned to the others. I don't trust the Zorathians, Colonel Harris said, his voice harsh. They've offered us an alliance, but we don't know their true motives. For all we know, they could be using us as cannon fodder in a war that has nothing to do with Earth. We've already been burned once. There's truth to that, Carter said thoughtfully. We can't forget what the Exarathians did to us. But we also can't ignore the reality of the Azari. If they are as dangerous as Kel says, Earth might not survive on its own. Dr. Lang, the chief scientist, spoke next. We've analyzed everything the Zorathians have shared with us. Their technology is far beyond ours. They may have the resources we need to fight the Azari. But if we're going to do this, we need to be prepared. We can't just rely on them. We need to make sure we're ready to defend ourselves, no matter what happens. The room fell silent for a moment as everyone processed Dr. Lang's words. Carter knew he was right. Earth couldn't afford to be passive. They would need to build their strength, learn from the Zorathians, and prepare for whatever the Azari could throw at them. But would an alliance be the right step? We have to look at the bigger picture, Carter said, finally breaking the silence. We've fought for our survival. We've proven that we won't go down easily. But this threat is unlike anything we've ever faced. If the Zorathians are telling the truth, we might not have a choice. We can't fight the Azari alone. Hunter gave her a sharp look. So, you're saying we trust the Zorathians? Carter met his gaze. I'm saying we take the risk. We join them, but we do it on our terms. We keep our independence. We don't let anyone dictate our future. Harris crossed his arms. That sounds like a dangerous gamble. Carter nodded. It is. But sometimes the most dangerous gambles are the ones that lead to victory. As the council meeting concluded, the decision was made. Earth would enter into an alliance with the Zorath coalition, but it would not be a blind alliance. Earth would remain in control of its own future, working alongside the Zorathians, but never at their mercy. The threat of the Azari was too great to ignore, and Earth had earned its place in the galaxy. The Zorathians had made their case, and Earth had decided to take a chance. It wasn't just about fighting for survival anymore. It was about the future. General Carter stood on the bridge of her ship, gazing out at the stars. The universe was a vast and dangerous place, but Earth was no longer the small, isolated planet it once was. Earth had proven its strength, and now, with the Zorathians at their side, humanity had a chance to not only survive but to thrive in the cosmos. The Zorath coalition ship still hovered nearby, waiting for the signal to begin their partnership. Carter knew that Earth's place in the galaxy would never be the same again. But for the first time in a long while, she felt a glimmer of hope. This was the beginning of a new chapter for Earth. And this time, they weren't fighting alone. Let's move out, she said, turning to the crew. The future of humanity is in our hands. As Earth's fleet departed, General Carter couldn't help but wonder what lay ahead. The Zorathians were just one piece of the puzzle. The galaxy was full of unknowns, and Earth's path was still unclear. But one thing was certain: the fight for Earth's survival was far from over, and humanity was ready to face whatever came next.